So our special guest today is Jeremy Eads. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Jeremy, and how you got started in the horror genre.
Well, I can go all the way back to when I was very young, watching horror movies with my father. Uh, from there, I mean, I was absolutely raised on cheesy B horror movies,
Yeah.
and from there, my mother used to read Stephen King short stories to me, uh, and it just fostered a love for the horror genre.
Brilliant. And that's what inspired you to write in the horror genre specifically.
I'm most comfortable there. I've written. I mean, The Lodge is the only book I have published, but I've written other books in other genres. But I seem to be a horror writer. It's that those stories turn out much better, I think.
Yeah. So how did you get your ideas for the horror stories?
Well, the idea for The Lodge, I was taking my children to school, and en route we drive by a very old, dilapidated, scary-looking bed and breakfast called the Maple Lodge. And the thought occurred to me is like, that looks like the devil's bed and breakfast. And the whole story was just, I mean, right there.
Yeah.
Just fell right in my lap. And that's typically what happens. It falls in my lap all at once.
So do you...
And then there's a mad rush to get it written down.
Yeah. Before you forget it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you normally plot your stories, or do you write them by the seat of your pants?
Usually, when I'm writing, it's kind of like watching a movie, and I'm trying to copy what I'm seeing in my head just as fast as I can. Trying to get down all those details, but I mean, there's lots of times plot twists and things happen that I didn't consciously intend, and I'm just as surprised as anybody.
Yeah.
I guess that's part of the magic of creation.
Yeah. So do you base anything on real life experiences or people you know?
Somewhat. Yeah. I mean, I do have some of my more outlandish characters are actually based on folks that I know, folks that I've met. Yeah, I mean, a person can very easily fall into one of my stories if they catch my eye,
Yeah. Fantastic. So with your stories, do you have any sort of like a themes or a message that sometimes pops into your work, whether you're deliberately doing it or not deliberately doing it?
It seems to work itself out naturally. In the lodge, the theme I think was very old school, sin and punishment type thing. And this latest book I'm trying to publish called Reptile, I mean that book is all about the best intentions often go astray.
Yeah.
And it's full of good intentions that just go completely sideways. So I mean it's kind of organic the way the things right. Do I set out consciously to like I'm going to talk about this thing? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I'll leave that to smarter writers than me.
So what's the most hardest thing about writing in the horror genre for you?
Getting people to read it. That's easy. I mean, writing the stories and doing that stuff is, I mean, I don't have writer's block. When I'm in the zone, 10,000 words a day is not uncommon. Uh, I can put out work. I'm not saying it's all golden, but I can put out work. But then polishing that up and then getting it into the right hands for folks to read. Uh, that's where the trick is.
Yeah. So how do
You
you
know,
do?
and it's happened with the lodge. I'm hoping that folks will look at that and think, okay, well, this guy, he's a decent enough writer. Maybe I'll give the next one a shot. And
Yeah.
then the publisher will be like, well, let's give the next one a shot. The first one did okay. But that's what we're working on right now.
Yeah. So how's your marketing? How do you find that?
Uh, entirely, entirely under the guidance of my publisher and then other authors like uh, Blaine Daigle, Andrew. Oh God, I'm gonna kill Andrew's last name. Nashberg. He wrote Mobius Door and Galatok. MJ Mars. She has been just tons and tons of help. She's just delightful.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it's mostly other indie authors that are helping me. Post here, talk to these people, talk to those people, and I just kind of bop along and okay, follow instructions,
Yeah.
acknowledge and execute.
Marketing's hard though, isn't it? Especially when you've got to do it yourself, and it becomes sort of like full time as well when you're posting to all the social medias.
Uh, if I understood your question right, you're asking about are we dependent on social media to get the word out? Is that where you're going with that?
Yeah, I suppose you could answer that one. To be fair.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, I'm a poor guy that lives in a cow field. So I mean, I'm a nobody from nowhere, and trying to let folks know that I've got work out in the world. Uh, I can't afford advertising. I think the New York Times wants $150,000 for an ad.
Really?
Yeah, it's disgusting. It really is. Uh, but I can't do that. I don't have any rich relatives or anything like that. So, and most of the indie writers that I know are the same way.
Yeah.
We help each other. We advertise for each other when and where we can. We write reviews for each other. I mean, it's a solid community, and it's just filled with good people.
Yeah, I agree there. The horror community seems to be one of the friendliest communities around.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, they embrace me out of nowhere, and they like I said, there's folks all over the U.S. and really all over the world. I mean, that have gotten involved and have helped spread the word, and I'm so grateful, and I feel incredibly blessed.
Yeah.
To be a part of it.
Yeah, I've noticed that myself. When I released my first book myself, I didn't network at all. I was sort of like in the background. I was in the groups, but I never really spoke. And then obviously over time, start speaking, and they are incredibly helpful. If you've got a question, they will answer it. And they do, you can't praise them enough, really.
And I'm right there with you on that one. I mean, this is my first book, my first experience. I'm I'm very shy, in real life. I think like most of us, we're probably introverts.
Yeah.
And because of that, most of the community understands, and they're very caring and helpful. And I really just can't say enough good things about them.
Yeah, I totally agree 100%. So, what's the most difficult scene that you've had to write?
Uh, Probably the scene that uh, was hardest for me to get through is uh, in the book Reptile. Uh, there's a scene where a gang rape happens, and while I try to approach an awful subject like that tastefully and tactfully,
Mm.
uh, that's extremely difficult to uh, navigate those waters and come across with a, a successful scene that has the right emotional punch. That's not just gore, you
Yeah.
know. Uh, that was really hard to work my way through that, especially as a man. Uh, but I hate to say it, but I think I pulled it off.
Yeah.
I mean, time will tell. But I don't like doing scenes where there are children in danger. Uh, that kind of thing bothers me. Killing animals, that bothers me. Uh, I especially dogs. I'm dog people. I have a bossy little Chihuahua upstairs named Sambone. Uh, I've got 4 children of my own, 2 sons, 2 daughters. Uh, so I mean that kind of stuff hits really, really close to home, and I don't like to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll skirt around, but I just absolutely cannot. I mean, there's other authors that can jump in there with both feet and just write the most awful scenes that you can imagine. But I'm not one of them.
Yeah. There's a bit of a golden rule as well, isn't there, within the horror? You can do whatever you want to anything else, but you cannot kill the dog.
That's it. That's it. That's absolutely right.
The readers don't like it.
The, the dog always survives.
Yeah. So,
And Sambone, I mean, he's such a critter. If there's a fly in the house, he'll run and hide in my bed. Under the covers.
yeah.
I mean, you can't do mean things to something like that.
It's amazing, really, how readers will accept anything but killing the dog.
I remember seeing an interview with Stephen King where he was talking about the most flack he ever got for a scene was in The Dead Zone when a guy kicks a dog to death. And it was, it's all fiction. It's not, it wasn't a real dog, but he said people gave him no end of grief over that dog.
Yeah. A few other authors have said the same, where they have sort of like trod that line and killed the dog. And they said they've had flack for doing that, but other scenes in the book was absolutely fine.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I can think of all kinds of wonderful ways that to dispose of people, but when it comes to the the doggos and even cats too, for that. I'm not really cat people, but I mean anything that would just give you that much love. I just can't. No.
So tell us about your books, Jeremy.
The Lodge is the one that's out right now, and I think it's probably by the time this airs, it'll be off sale. But it was on sale for 99 cents for the electronic version, and that town, that story is about a town that's grown up around a bed and breakfast, and the bed and breakfast is a demon's lair. There's a fireplace in the bed and breakfast that is sort of a portal to hell, and there's an escapee from hell, and through that fire. Then the fireplace is built, and the lodge is built, and the town grows up around it. And the story is about eventually the proprietor of the inn begins to lose control over the town and the townsfolk, and people stop listening to him, and they start doing what they want to do. And he hires I say hires, but you'd have to read the book to understand what I mean. He hires an employee, and she's a notorious Black Widow. FBI's looking for her. I mean, she's just a vicious critter herself. And he absolutely cannot control it. And that's part of his efforts to control her, cause him to lose control in other places.
Yeah.
And eventually it all catches up with him. But it's a fun read. It's, Southern Gothic goodness. I add a little bit of humor to it, because I just don't think that you can, especially writing horror, write heavy scene after heavy scene without giving the readers some kind of break, some kind of breath, a little pause, let them catch their breath, and then hit them with something else. So I've got a mix of my weird sense of humor in there, and it's I don't know, it's doing fairly well. I mean, the book came out in July, and I hit an Amazon bestseller this weekend. That was pretty cool.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, Amazon, that's not New York Times or USA Today. However, for nobody from the cowfield, it was pretty darn cool. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. I'm hoping to do it again with other books. Like I said, I'm shopping number 2 around right now. That's Reptile.
Yeah.
But it's it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I have some short stories, although I don't think I'm very good with short stories, but I do have some short stories that, various podcasters that pick up, YouTubers, like guys like Mick Dark. He's done a couple of my stories, which that's always cool hearing, somebody turn your story into, they have actors and sound effects, and it's almost like a movie, but or an audio play. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool hearing those. But I mean, they're out there. They can be found. But I feel like novels are where I shine.
Yeah. What's been the most memorable piece of feedback that you've had?
The most memorable what now?
Feedback. Review.
Oh my goodness. I had a review that I'm trying to think of how they put it. Of course I could look it up, but I don't really want to do that. But the review compared me to the master himself, Stephen King, which everybody wants to do that. Everybody does do that. But this comparison was from a complete stranger, and they said not only was the story King like in how scary it was, but in humor and style as well. And I thought that was, I mean, wow.
Yeah, so really
Very, very cool. Very cool.
fantastic.
And then my favorite one that I got that was negative, uh, said there was too many characters. I had too many characters in the book, and I should have just followed one and kept going. But I don't know. Maybe I'll write the next one in Purple Crown for them, but that's not really my thing.
Yeah.
But those were my favorites.
So what advice would you give to somebody who's starting to write?
Get comfortable with rejection. And not just rejection, but where you get some kind of feedback, some kind of positive critique or negative critique or what have you, but where you don't hear anything at all. Because if you're gonna write books, you're gonna get a lot of that. And if you're really sensitive about, I've put my heart and soul into this, and it's a masterpiece, and everybody should be reading it, and I should be celebrated. And then nobody acknowledges that when you send it out. That can be rough. So thick skin is my advice. I mean, I served in the Army. So I've been yelled at by America's finest. I have good thick skin, and I was absolutely prepared for the rejections.
Yeah.
But there are folks out there that are not. They believe that finishing the book, which is a commendable feat in itself. But finishing the book and editing it and all that fun stuff, and now it should be an instant bestseller. And probably not. You take a look at any bookstore. They're full of books. And not every single one of them is going to be a bestseller. It's the odds of getting picked up by a big 5 publisher are slim to none. So if you're writing with the intent of, I'm going to make a big splash, that's probably the wrong way to come at it. If you're writing with the intent of, you're a natural storyteller and you love to do it and you want to put those stories out, that's probably a much healthier way to go about things. Because it can be rough. It can absolutely be rough if
yeah. Totally agree.
And I guess my other piece of advice would be you're not going to please everyone all the time. So be prepared for that. I was completely shocked at too many characters. Like, what? But like I said, you're not gonna please everyone all the time, and write the stories that you're happy with. Write the stories that you want to read, and things will work out like they should.
Yeah, that's right. So have you got any exciting projects that you're working on at the moment? I know you mentioned Reptile. Have you got any others?
Yeah, well, I'm shopping that one at the moment. I'm considering releasing a I don't know, kind of a fictionalized memoir about my time in a rock and roll band. When I say fictionalized, I mean highly fictionalized. Lots of stuff that I'm either making up or just outright lying about. But it's a fun read. I've got a science fiction horror project that's on the way. I mean, I have Reptile is actually a standalone but it's the beginning of a series. And I've got 3 of those thus far finished and ready for the editor. I mean, I'm a busy bee. I really am. I mean, it's, I right now, I'm very fortunate in that all I do is write. I mean, there's nothing else. I mean, other than my kiddos that consume my time. So, I mean, a lot of folks don't have that luxury. So, that doesn't. They're not able to, produce 15 novels and, let me see, just a quick count here. We've got let me see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that I've got sitting here that are pretty much ready for the editor, and I've got 2 more that I'm working my way through. But I'm a busy bee.
Sounds like
but
it.
I love to write. I love to tell stories. That's good times. Marketing, not so much. But I don't know anybody that likes marketing. I mean, every writer I know is like, it's the worst.
Yeah.
And and I didn't really know what they were talking about at first, but I know now.
So where can we find your books?
Right now you can get a hold of them on Amazon. I'm published through Wicked House Publishing. And if a person wanted to have a signed copy of The Lodge, I just get a hold of me in my DMs on Facebook.
Brilliant. Well, it's been lovely having you on the show, Jeremy.
Crystal, I thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. And I hope everything goes well for you.
Thank you. I hope we get to speak again.
Hopefully we will.